Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Welcome into 49ers Access. My name is Sterling Bennett, and we are officially 7 days away, just 1 week out from the 2025 NFL Draft, and I thought, let's have some fun as we celebrate 1 week before this year's draft, and we're going to crank everything up to 11. We're going to get crazy, going to have some fun, going to get insane by using the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator, and we're going to turn that randomness level all the way up to 11. Hopefully, we get some day 3 picks going on day 1. Maybe we can talk about some day 3 sleepers, some day 2 risers, and maybe even some day 1 first round fallers. And hopefully it gives us a chance to talk about some prospects we haven't got into in the mock drafts thus far. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe in the audio podcasting platforms. Leave that review. And let's dive into what I'm calling the most random 2025 NFL mock draft and see how the San Francisco 49ers can turn things out this year right here on 49ers Access. As you can see behind me, we have the PFF mock draft simulator ready to go. The Tennessee Titans are on the clock, and we are going to begin the most random 2025 NFL mock draft you have seen in 2025, and let's see what the Tennessee Titans do. Shockingly enough, not too crazy thus far. We have Travis Hunter going number 1, although it'll be Cam Ward on next Thursday's draft night, but Travis Hunter probably going to go number 2. Abdul Carter, he goes number 2 here, probably going to go number 3, maybe even 4 in next week's draft. Nothing too crazy here, although Cam Ward goes to the Raiders, which has dropped Ashton Jeanty all the way down to pick number 11. And if you're the San Francisco 49ers, do you dare take a first-round running back if it may be one of the greatest collegiate running backs we've ever seen? The answer is no. You don't do that here if you are San Francisco, although it would be crazy to do so. Players like Walter Nolan is here, Malachi Starks, Tyler Warren, Mike Green, they're all there. Nobody too big outside of Jeanty fell down the board. However, a lot of the conversation has been thus far that the San Francisco 49ers will draft a running back at some point. I think the odds are likely in that 4th or 5th round range. That seems kind of like the sweet spot for running backs this year, knowing how deep the class is. I think players like DJ Giddens make sense. Khalil Mullings makes sense. Kyle Monangai also makes some sense. You may get some kind of Michelle Tootin and Jaden Blue conversations, maybe even a Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt conversation beginning early on day 3. But do you take Ashton Jeanty here at pick number 11? He would honestly give you probably the greatest running back duo the San Francisco 49ers have ever seen, with Christian McCaffrey, barring health, and Ashton Jeanty. Do you do it, or do you say, forget it, Sterling, go get the trenches worked out? For the sake of conversation, Ashton Jeanty is a home run waiting to happen on every single play. There's maybe some conversations of his size, his height may be an issue, his stance in the backfield, but my goodness, I believe he had the most yards last year of any running back in the collegiate level, and then his yards after first contact would have ranked 2nd in the collegiate level amongst every college football running back. So clear as day, this an awesome player. I think of the blue chippers, it is Will Campbell, it's Abdul Carter, it's Travis Hunter. I think Ashton Jeanty is that final last guy. Mason Graham is a great player. He can certainly be in that conversation, but guys you know who are going to be great on day 1, Ashton Jeanty screams that for you. You can maybe go Tyler Warren here. Walter Nolan's still there. Mike Green's still there. But let's take some insanity and let's get the greatest running back duo in football. We're going to go Ashton Jeanty at pick number 11. Forgive me for how crazy things might get. And look who's on the board at pick number 11. And I really want to get into Mike Green here because everything you hear about Mike Green, 17 sacks last year, the pressure rate, the way he attacks defensive or offensive lines, he would be a perfect fit at the edge rushing group for the San Francisco 49ers. Got a running back in the first round. Didn't need to go running back, but for the sake of that randomness we're going to have here today, Mike Green is awesome, but there are clear-cut red flags. There has been some mixed signals as to whether he was brought in for a top 30 visit, and I think a lot of people, well, yes, understand what a top 30 visit is. NFL teams use those in a variety of different ways and for a variety of different reasons, and I think if you listen to Tim Kawakami and Matt Barrows yesterday on the 49ers Plus Minus podcast, they talked about players that have some red flags, like Mike Green, like Josh Simmons. Mike Green has some character concerns, some assault charges that were kind of not brought up against him. He wasn't questioned by police whatsoever. Then there's Josh Simmons, who has a knee injury and may never be the same, although the health looks pretty good leading into the draft in 1 week's time. But Barrows and Kawakami both said that the Niners are interested in those players, talking to them, learning about them more, with the odds that if those players fall in round 2 for the already said reasons for Green and Simmons, that they would then be open to drafting them on day 2. And in this practice we're doing here, Mike Green falls to day 2. I think it's a home run pick. Great player, great size, the way he attacks tackles and interior guys. Maybe you don't think he's a 3-down player, a kind of a smaller edge rusher, although he isn't too small compared to like Josiah Stewart, who's like barely 6 foot. But I think Mike Green's a home run pick here. I would go Mike Green. I think he's a top 10 talent, and you get him at pick 43 and kind of fits into what Matt Barrows and Kawakami were saying yesterday as for red flag players falling on day 2 where San Francisco could jump at the want to get both those guys. Kelvin Banks is still here. He'll probably go right around pick 16-ish or before that, maybe. Jalen Walker is still here. A lot of you might say take Jalen Walker over Mike Green. Jalen Walker is in my top 5 players to avoid at pick number 11. I think that while Jalen Walker has the power, there's questions in productivity at Georgia, albeit Georgia rotates their guys like crazy. I'd much rather have Michael Williams from Georgia compared to Jalen Walker. Is he a linebacker? Is he an edge rusher? You don't really know what his role is. I think the Panthers make the most sense for him on day 1, not San Francisco. But we're going to go Mike Green, which surprisingly, you get the top running back and you get the number 2 edge rusher in the class. San Francisco is living pretty good right now on the most random NFL mock draft we've seen thus far in 2025, which brings us to pick 75. And I think, which funny enough, Shedeur Sanders is still here. You have to get into the conversation of defensive tackle, right? You took Ashton Jeanty, you took Mike Green. Omar Norman-Lott is there. You don't have your pick of Walter Nolan or your CJ West and guys like that. Omar Norman-Lott is, I think, one of San Francisco's favorite picks. If you listen to what Barrows and Kawakami were saying yesterday as well, they predicted San Francisco goes edge rusher in the first round. One of them picked Michael Williams from Georgia. The other picked Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. Now, I am really split on Shamar Stewart. I would not love the idea of banking on his production to kind of pick up at the NFL level. He's a great fit for the wide 9, but overall, there are undoubtedly concerns as to if you have all these traits, why did it not turn into production, sacks, finishing at the collegiate level? He also lost 20 pounds getting ready for the Senior Bowl. And I think for a team that, wants to have this, although Stewart isn't a refined player by any means, if you lose 20 pounds and his calling card is power, do you still have the power minus those 20 pounds? It's a big question mark for him. If he's there at 11, I can see them liking him a lot. He fits the wide 9. He has all the athletic traits they would love for a player at the edge rushing position. But for the San Francisco 49ers, we already got Ashton Jeanty. We already got Mike Green. I think they are going and already have fallen in love with Omar Norman-Lott. I would not be shocked to watch him go in the first round this year. I think that, he is a pass rushing specialist. He had less than 200 run defense snaps over the last 2 years. So is it a you can't do it or you weren't asked to do it conversation? I think on day 2, if he's there, if they go edge rusher on round 1 at pick 11, I think they are gunning for a player like Omar Norman-Lott. Massive, massive hands, powerful hands. He will shove offensive linemen back. He'll get to the quarterback like it's nobody's business. I love that pick. You can go Tyleik Williams here, probably a more guaranteed day 2 pick. Very similar to a player like CJ West, albeit different archetypes. A run stuffer, not going to give you much from a pass rushing capability standard. However, Tyleik Williams gives you that run-stuffing interior guy you like, paired next to maybe a Walter Nolan or TJ Sanders out of South Carolina. But I would go Omar Norman-Lott here. We're going to do it in round 3, pick 75, and kind of stick with one of the players I think San Francisco will target on day number 2. Maybe if they trade back, even on day number 1. Want to pause here for 1 second to ask, if you could, and you want to go see your favorite MLB team this summer, the Giants scored 11 runs against the Phillies yesterday, going for a series win today. They're on fire. You want to go watch the NBA playoffs live, or if you want to go see a concert in person this summer, I know my wife, Olivia Rodrigo, Taylor Swift, she already has tickets lined up saying, honey, I want to go see these things. And I'm saying, if you're going to go, make sure you use the promo code 49ers Access at SeatGeek.com. Green means good, red means bad for your ticket viewing prices. Go get a green seat, use that promo code, and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Once again, 49 ERS ACC ESS at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. Want to say what's up to Papa J in the YouTube comments. What's up, Papa J? Hope you're having a wonderful Thursday. 1 week away from this year's NFL draft, and we have a doozy of a class thus far for your San Francisco 49ers. Ashton Jeanty, Mike Green, and Omar Norman-Lott in this random 2025 NFL mock draft via the PFF mock draft simulator. You can argue here it might be good to pair Tyleik Williams with Omar Norman-Lott. Again, you have your pass rusher. Go get your run stuffer. I wouldn't mind that at all. You can make a case for Oluwafemi Oladejo. I think he's probably going to be a San Francisco 49er. A lot of teams like him a ton. He's a 1-year edge rushing convert over to the edge rushing position. It seems like the NFL is kind of catching up to where he may be. A lot of questions of, will you grow as a player or are you going to stay the same? I think San Francisco views him as a we can teach that guy kind of player. He'll grow with Chris Kosarek and Robert Saleh for at least 1 year. I think he fits the mold for them. But you already got Mike Green here in round 2 in a shocking twist, right? So let's look at other players on the board. You can go Darian Porter, and I think this is a great conversation for the cornerback group because a lot has been talked about at the cornerback position here between, I think, these two players for the San Francisco 49ers. Many of your favorite pundits, people on Twitter will say Darian Porter and Azareye'h Thomas from Florida State. And I'll tell you this. Early on in my draft preparation, I was in love with Azareye'h Thomas from Florida State. You already got Renardo Green last year. Go get Azareye'h Thomas this year. Former FSU guys, pair them back together. They're feisty in press man coverage. They will take on receivers. They want to tackle. They want to do all the things San Francisco likes out of their cornerbacks, and San Francisco will sacrifice size for that kind of peskiness, the feistiness, kind of being a gnat against wide receivers. However, as the Senior Bowl happened, the Shrine Bowl happened, the Scouting Combine happened, I started to get really cold feet with Azareye'h Thomas because he does so many great things where early on I was like, bona fide day 2 pick, he's awesome, he's incredible, but then I watched what his 40 time looked like, went back into the tape, and I started to get a little scared. Again, he's 6'2", almost 200 pounds. Great size for a cornerback. He has 32.5-inch arms. Great length for a cornerback. Only going to be 20 years old on draft night. Again, all the things you like if you're a San Francisco 49er defensive coordinator and coach. Last year, a 71.8 zone coverage grade, a 71.7 man coverage grade. Pretty consistent per the PFF grades for Azareye'h Thomas. However, despite him loving to blow up plays underneath and get physical and be feisty and do those things you like from Green and Lenore already on your defense, he ran a 4.6 40 time. And that is terrifying for a player that you like all these traits from, but if you don't have the ability to keep up with receivers with their long speed, and it's not, he's a 4.5 or he's a late 4.4. Like, receivers are going to be 4.2, 4.3, 4.4 at times. 4.6 40 speed is what your slower slot receivers run. And it's what tanks receivers' draft stock at time if they can't run very fast. And so when you see that from a cornerback whose job's already harder, they got to backpedal, they don't know the routes that are happening for the receivers, you have to wonder, can you play cover 3? Are you going to get beat over the top over and over and over again because you're a slower cornerback that, yes, wants to get physical, wants to play press man coverage, but he didn't play cover 4 in college. He didn't play cover 3 in college. So more red flags pop up where it's like, if he's there on day 2, I'd much rather have Darian Porter over Azareye'h Thomas from Florida State if it was me. Darian Porter, similar size, 6'2", 1 pound lighter than Azareye'h Thomas. He had a 91.7 zone coverage grade, a 63.5 man coverage grade, but then an 88.8 outside cornerback grade per PFF. He forced 4 incompletions, had a 24% forced incompletion rate at Iowa State this past season. He also blocked 4 punts, so if you don't love him as a cornerback, and his run defense is a massive question, 36.8 run defense grade, that's not great, which is shocking because he has really good size for a cornerback. He also has great speed to catch up and make up against cornerback or against receivers. He has really fluid hips, and funny enough, kind of like Oladejo from UCLA at the edge rushing group, he's a receiver convert. So he has really good hands, and now he's playing cornerback trying to learn the position. So if San Francisco's okay with Femi Oladejo, former linebacker to edge rusher, they believe they can get more out of him. I think there is credence to the idea they can get more out of Darian Porter from Iowa State than a player like Azareye'h Thomas from Florida State. I would go Darian Porter here. There's run defense grades issues for sure, but he has good size. I wish he was stronger, but the more time he plays cornerback, the better he should become over time. And you have Trey Brown, you have Darrell Luter Jr. They're probably going to sign somebody else. You can give him special team reps to catch up to the NFL level and get his body right at the cornerback position. I'm going Darian Porter here over Azareye'h Thomas. Get yourself I don't want to say lockdown cornerback, but get yourself an incredible speed cornerback to stop plays over the top, especially if you are going to roll out Jair Brown, and Malik Mustafa, more so Jair Brown here. If you're going to have him playing free safety, quote unquote, somebody's got to be able to catch up to receivers on the back end. That, to me, is Darian Porter out of Iowa State over Azareye'h Thomas from Florida State. Now we're here. Pick 100. Luther Burden's still there. Marion Hampton's still there. Benjamin Morrison's still there. Shooter Sanders is still there. And perfect enough, Oluwafemi Oladejo is there. It's an easy pick for me. Or we could get a little zany and we could go CJ West, Indiana, pair him on the interior. Maybe you go Chris, quote-unquote, Pooh Paul Jr., linebacker out of Mississippi. San Francisco likes him a ton. Maybe he is your Dre Greenlaw replacement. Man, this is tough. Let's go Olufemi Oladejo here. Get them an edge rusher, pairing with Mike Green. You get your 17-sack guy, then kind of get your project guy behind him. I think it's a good pick for San Francisco at pick 113, which may be where he goes. He also may go a little earlier than that, probably earlier on day 2, likely in round number 2 or early in round 3. And I think perfect for San Francisco. CJ West is still there. Go and get your run stuffing, space eating, bowling ball interior defensive tackle, pairing with Omar Norman-Lott, and you have yourself now 4 incredibly impressive defensive linemen. Guys who you say you can go out there, and even if Mike Green gets you 8 sacks, Femi gets you 6 sacks, you have Ichi Gross-Matos, you have Omar Norman-Lott, you have CJ West, you have now built yourself an awesome defensive line group, not just on the interior, but also on the exterior with the Nick Bosa and company. You can maybe talk me into earlier, maybe a receiver. I don't know if San Francisco needs a receiver. You have DeMarcus Robinson. You have Jawan Jennings. You have Pearsall. You have Cowing. I know in last week's draft, or actually earlier in this week's draft, we took Kyle Williams from Washington State, but he's probably going to go early on day 2. His stock has risen a ton since the scouting combine. And so I keep out for the Titans. Cam Ward and Kyle Williams played together before in college. So I think Cam Ward goes 1. I would not be shocked to watch Kyle Williams from Washington State go early on day 2 to pair with Cam Ward with the Tennessee Titans. I think it'd be awesome for them. They get really, really, really good players out there for their young cornerback. And we're sitting here on the board at pick 147. We haven't gotten an offensive lineman yet. We can go safety here. Andrew Makuba's there, a great playmaker out of Texas. I think he has some of the best ball skills in this draft. If you want to go receiver, Jalen Knoll is there from Iowa State. Give him Darian Porter on the other side. Jalen Knoll is awesome. He is one of my draft crushes this year at the receiver position. I don't think San Francisco takes him, but I think he's wherever he goes, whether it's Kansas City or Buffalo or a not so warm place like Ohio or Pittsburgh. I think Jalen Knoll is going to be awesome wherever he goes. He's a smaller receiver out of Iowa State, 5'10", 195 pounds, but he is just incredible as a kick returner, as a punt returner. The change of direction is off the charts. He will separate. He'll get open with a flash. He is so fast. He has yak ability. He'll break a few tackles. He can take the top off a defense in a snap of a finger, and you go, oh, wow. Like, my biggest fear is that, again, those teams like the Ravens, the Bills, and the Chiefs get him. Speed with a good arm and strong arm quarterbacks. It'd be a nightmare to defend, especially if you have with Patrick Mahomes and Hollywood Brown and Travis Kelce and company out there. It would not be fun. Rashee Rice comes back probably this year for them, so it would not be fun. His size, he's smaller, but actually wants to block, which I think maybe could lean if San Francisco wants that receiver to draft somebody like Jalen Knoll from Iowa State. He also, funny enough, for a 5'10", 5'11 receiver, he can go up and get the ball. Like, there's a lot to like from Jalen Noel out of Iowa State. Probably going to be an early day 2 player, maybe a 3rd round pick. But if San Francisco wants to take a receiver, I would not be alarmed or surprised if it was Jalen Noel from Iowa State. You can maybe get into the tackle conversation here. Marcus Bowe from Purdue is there. I think San Francisco just brought him in for a visit. He can play center, he can play guard, he can play tackle. There's a lot to like out of Purdue's Marcus Bowe. Tate Ratledge is here. You can really get into a guard conversation, although guard is so interesting because San Francisco likes Ben Bartch enough to bring him back as a starter. They like McKivitz a lot as their tackle. You love Pooney, obviously. I am someone that advocates for them to upgrade at left guard this year. Kelvin Banks is a big reason for that. Maybe you go and get lucky and Will Campbell falls, although I don't see it happening. Jonas Savaiinaea from Arizona could be a tackle guard combo. If I'm San Francisco, you have to find somebody else to pair on the interior with Pooney and Brendel, because a lot of the issues Brendel had, although he was bad on his own, was because Aaron Banks was atrocious last year. Get a better left guard, and you'll see a better puller. Last year we saw Aaron Banks and Eric Saubert literally run into each other in the backfield. And it was like, okay, now 2 guys run blocked. What's going on here? So I would not be shocked to see San Francisco go guard because they kind of have to. They also have to get a swing tackle. So maybe you kind of get the combination going. Maybe you like Burford enough to be your left tackle behind Trent Williams. Wouldn't be shocked there either. But for the sake of trying to kind of stay in the lane of what San Francisco likes to do, wants to do, I think linebacker here makes a lot of sense for San Francisco. We're going defense for sure, and I get that. A lot of people hate that. Done that plenty of times. And I want to ask you guys this because I got a lot of complaints in all the mock drafts, whether it is in the comment section or on social media. I will leave posts up and people say, where are the offensive linemen? And I'm like, what do you mean? We got a guy in the 6th round. We got a guy in the 5th round. Fans are like, no, you have to go round 1. You have to go round 2. They have to find starting caliber, blue chip, day 1 starters on the offensive line in the first 3 rounds. And I can see them going offensive line on day 2 for sure. Again, Jonas Savaiinaea from Arizona makes a lot of sense for them. Charles Grant from William & Mary could also be a great pick for them. He maybe can be your Trent Williams replacement in a couple years in time. But I don't really think San Francisco hates their offensive line. I think they want to improve it, as they should, but a lot of people have been like hammering the point home on like, you gotta get offensive linemen, where I'm like, Dominic Pooney was a round 3 pick last year. And everybody was screaming round 1 tackle, round 1 guard, like people were like, why are you trading back? Why are you taking a receiver? And it's like, they got a dominant force in Dominic Pooney in round 3. I think San Francisco is so nitpicky over their offensive linemen that while, yes, there are certain guys they may like, a lot of the guys they may like are going to be gone probably, I think, in round 2. But if there's a tackle there, again, Charles Grant makes sense. Jonas Savaiinaea makes some sense. Marcus Bowe can be an interior guy, mainly a center and guard combo. If San Francisco somehow finds a way to trade back, Gray Zabel would be incredible for them. Center, guard, tackle, it don't matter. Like, if you want to go offensive line early in this year's draft and you want the versatility, Gray Zabel is the man for you out of North Dakota State. Kawachipto even says here, to be fair, their day 1 and day 2 offensive line guys have been terrible. I think they've only taken 3 offensive linemen on day 1 and 2 since Shanahan and Lynch got there. McGlinchey in 2018, I picked 9? Then it was Aaron Banks in round 2 of 2021. Then it was last year Dominic Pooney. So I don't see them going offensive line that early. However, with how limited the tackle grouping is in this class, they may feel the pressure to get one early and may forego an edge rusher, may forego an interior defensive lineman or a cornerback for the sake of getting a tackle and thinking, hey, we can get a guy later in the draft. Like, kind of pushing back on the narrative that San Francisco has to get a cornerback too, because a lot of pundits have been saying round 1, Will Johnson, round 1, Jahdae Barron, round 1, whoever else you can find at cornerback, that's Niner guy. Where it's like the Niners found Ambry Thomas, Lenore late, in the middle rounds, round 5, round 3 for Thomas, round 5 for Lenore. Travarius Ward was a big name signing, but he was a UDFA from the Dallas Cowboys and the Chiefs. So like their archetype doesn't really need to be an early pick guy or an early, day 1, day 2 player. I think people are overestimating how big of a loss Travarius Ward was. Great person, really good player, but it was really bad last year. But which is why I think, Kobe Bryant makes sense for them from Kansas. Jacob Parrish, maybe late on day 3 or late on day 2 in round 3 can make some sense for them from Kansas State as a kind of a nickel back for them going forward. Give yourself some 3 guys that can play nickel in the outside in Lenore, Green, and Jacob Parrish from Kansas State. I don't see cornerback being a big need, albeit we took one in round 3 here. I think if you look at what they need, what they value at pick 147 in round 5, where we pick in 13 more picks, I think if you're San Francisco, the biggest bang for your buck here, you can talk about tight ends. Elijah Arroyo's still there. He's a home run hitter from Miami. You can talk about Jalen Noel. You can talk about Pooh Paul, Marcus Bowe. Savion Williams is there. Jamari Caldwell took him plenty of times in our drafts in previous weeks. Jeffrey Bass is still there. But I'm going to go with, to me, what they want the most on a round 5 pick. That is Chris Paul Jr., linebacker, Mississippi. Got to replace Dre Greenlaw. I think that, there's a little bit of a misconception from me that the San Francisco 49ers, who were overwhelmingly trying to bring back Dre Greenlaw, flew out to his house, I think in Texas, and were like, come back, we'll up the offer, and this, that, and the other. That said, I don't think that was out of fear of D. Winters not being great. I think it was because they respect Dre Greenlaw so much. They do value the linebacker 2 position, the will linebacker position, next to Fred Warner. But I think D. Winters is good enough. He's really great in coverage last year. I don't love his run defense, but Jeffrey Bassett can make some sense. Shane Dolak out of Buffalo makes a lot of sense for this team. He's probably going to be an earlier pick than people think he will be. He's a great player, an awesome player nobody's talking about. And again, Pooh Paul from Ole Miss, which, funny enough, you will see a lot of people when Chris Paul Jr. tackles somebody, oh, he pooed all over him. And I'm going to say that is a great celebration for a player like Chris Paul. To have the nickname Pooh Paul is awesome. But you get your Dre Greenlaw replacement, quote unquote. Now you're back on the board at 160. I think they go Marcus Bowe. I think you get your offensive lineman. He can play tackle. He can play guard. He can play center. He had a really hard time at the Senior Bowl, which, again, knocks him down many people's boards for them. But I think San Francisco likes the versatility a ton. I think for Marcus Bowe, he's 6'5", 300 pounds. He plays light on his feet. He's uber explosive, arguably one of the more explosive offensive linemen in this year's class. He played right guard in 2022, played right tackle in 2023. And Shanahan wants to utilize the offensive line as a weapon, whether it's pulling left tackles or guards or this, that, and the other. I think he would view Marcus Bowe from Purdue as a weapon. And if you give Kyle Shanahan a weapon on the offensive line, paired with Trent Williams and Dominic Pooney and some plug-and-play guys, Colton McKivitz, Jake Brendel, wherever Bowe plays, I think it will be valuable. Now, that said, I don't think he's a day 1 starter for you. I think he'll need some time. I think there is some technique issues with him. His lower body isn't great. Sometimes he gets a little too high in his stance and he loses leverage early. But if you're going to play light on your feet at 300 pounds, that's like a no-go for you on the exterior. But if you're on the interior, you got bigger guards as well, like or bigger defensive tackles, excuse me. You're going to have a hard time staying in front of your blocks and whatnot. But I think there is some help. If he plays guard, he plays center, get him next to Pooney, next to Brendel, next to Trent Williams and company. He'll have some help. He can survive in year one, or at least be a cog in your machine on year one. I would love San Francisco to take Marcus Bowe somewhere probably late on day 2. Maybe if you're lucky and he slides early on day 3. Man, I would love that for the San Francisco 49ers. But we're back on the board at pick 227, just 3 picks left in this NFL mock draft. We're going to go Jalen Noel, get your receiver. I already talked about him earlier, love Jalen Noel for you. And for the San Francisco 49ers, you got a receiver, you got your offensive lineman, you got your linebacker, you got 2 interior defensive tackles, CJ West, Omar Norman-Lott. You got your kind of speed, sticky in coverage corner, Darian Porter. Although, again, being a receiver convert, needs to figure out his body and learn the position more. But he can probably sit for a year behind Trey Brown and Darrell Luter Jr. You love Mike Green, obviously. There are some red flags, so maybe love is a strong word. But you like him enough in round 2 at pick 43 to take him. And, of course, Ashton Jeanty in round 1 isn't a need, but it's certainly a want for you if you are the San Francisco 49ers with Christian McCaffrey and Ashton Jeanty. He'd make a lot of the Brock Purdy has to carry the team concerns go out of the window. I mean, honestly. Man, like that would be just a 1-2 punch of one of those guys, if not both those guys, are never coming off the field for you if you're San Francisco. Kawachipto says here, a 25-year-old Darian Porter who runs away from contact. And when I said sit for a year, he goes, he's going to be 26. Yes, I think that's certainly a concern. I'm not going to disagree with you there. In fact, I would agree with you that the age, he's a 5th-year senior out of Iowa State. He kind of got lost in their receiver group. He obviously wasn't better than Jalen Noel or Jaden Higgins, but he is a receiver convert over, so you can love the ball skills, you can love the speed, but if you're willing to let a guy sit for a year, and by the age of 26, which San Francisco didn't seem to hate the age stuff last year. They picked 5th-year seniors last year too. And if that guy can sit for a year or kind of be a spot player here, there, maybe be on base downs only and whatnot, or be on passing downs only, like long 3rd downs, 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 12s, I think there is a spot for Darian Porter to grow as a player. And I think they like Trey Brown enough to be your number 3 cornerback, at least for 2025. Maybe you hate that. Again, I would go Jacob Parrish. I love him a lot more than Darian Porter. But again, Azaria Thomas, the speed scares me. 4'6" is scary as an outside corner, where I think Porter can learn for a year and be a better player down the road for you than a player like Azaria Thomas from Florida State. But back to pick 249 in round 7. I think if you're San Francisco, there's a clear-cut answer here. You go Jamari Caldwell out of Oregon. He's an awesome, incredible player. You can also go Cameron Jackson from Florida. Love him a ton. Run stuffer. He's a dog to get on the interior defensive line. Nick Nash has kind of been talked about because he was at the pro day, a local kid out of San Jose State, albeit I don't really like Nick Nash a lot for San Francisco. That's a draft and stash player for probably 2 years. I don't love drafting players like that, but they picked Trey Lance, so who am I to say anything? But back to who I think they should pick here if these guys are on the board. I think Jamari Caldwell, you just get a dog on the interior. Took him earlier, and I think last week's draft, he's awesome. I mean, probably a late round 3, early round 4 player for San Francisco. Certainly outshined by Derek Harmon as running mate out there in Oregon, but he's 6'2", 342 pounds. Excellent run defender, good against the pass. He had no sacks last year, but in 2023, he had 6 sacks with Houston. He's a true nose tackle, a space eater, a lane clogger. You get him and CJ West on those base downs, early running downs, no one's getting by you on the interior. I would do that for San Francisco. And with one pick left, 252, let's examine the board because to kind of rewind a little bit here, here's who we took. Round 1, pick 11, running back Ashton Jeanty. In our insanely random mock draft, we went running back in the first round. He was there. He dropped to us. It's not going to happen on next Thursday's draft. I get that. But if he's there, Chris McCaffrey, Ashton Jeanty, it would be something to watch. It'd be incredible. It would give me shades of the Giants in, was it 2011, 2013 when they beat the Patriots, where they had Brandon Jacobs and Ahmed Bradshaw and Derek Ward. But you'd have arguably the number 2 or 3 running backs in football on day one and give you the LT and Michael Turner with the Chargers back in the day. We went and got Mike Green, edge rusher, out of Marshall. Omar Norman Lott in round 3, along with Darian Porter, the cornerback. We went and got Femi Oladejo, edge rusher, out of UCLA in round 4. CJ West as well in round 4. Chris Pupal Jr. in round 5 to replace Trey Greenlaw. Marcus Bowe as your tackle, guard, center, hybrid offensive lineman. And we went receiver Jalen Knoll and Jamari Caldwell in round number 7. But we're here. It is the last pick for the San Francisco 49ers in this 2025 NFL Draft. Do you go tight end? Do you go Elijah Arroyo? He's still there. On PFF's ranking is player 57. I think they want a tight end. Harold Fannin Jr., Gunnar Helm can make some sense. They've talked to Jackson Hayes, a blocking tight end. Talked to Jalen Conyers from Texas Tech. I don't love Conyers or Hayes for what they need. They already have Luke Farrell as their blocking tight end. You don't need a tight end per se because you have George Kittle. But when you talk about Elijah Arroyo, a lot of injuries, but he's got sure hands. He can get vertical. He is a yak monster. Good separator, good change of direction. He's a physical blocker, and he still has kind of that receiver mentality of I want to play receiver, but I'm also a tight end where kind of a nice mix of both. But I think he's more of a project player because he kind of fits that tweener mold. He's 6'5", 245 pounds. He really can't play in line at a consistent basis, and you want a better blocking technique. But as a receiver, you're getting a great player, I think, on day one. But his usage, I think, will be limited because not a great blocker. He'll try. Not great, though, and he can't play in line for you. You can maybe go edge rusher here and get yourself one of the remaining players, Baron Sorrell from Texas, Tyler Batty, Johnny Walker. Baron Soul from Texas is still here. He's a pretty good player. I don't love him a lot. If you're the San Francisco 49ers, there's a reason why I haven't talked about him once. Usually, and to kind of give you some behind the scenes, behind the glass information here, most guys I talk about on the show are usually players I can see fitting the San Francisco 49ers because, well, that's my team, it's your team, it's who you cover. But I think a lot of the guys we talk about here is guys we think that fit San Francisco, their needs, their wants, their scheme fit, the way they play. I don't think Baron Sorrell fits the San Francisco 49ers much. I don't love the rest of the edge rushers here for the Niners. You can go Makuba and get yourself a free safety. I think he would kind of make a player like Darian Porter irrelevant. You can go ahead and take Azaria Thomas if you get Andrew Makuba, who can be that roaming kind of free safety player for you on the back end in single high coverage situations. You can go Noel Williams, who I think is a great pick out of California. You can go Cameron Jackson again. You can go Joshua Farmer. You can go You can go a player like Jake Briningstool, tight end, a good receiving tight end. You can go Nick Nash, good receiver, albeit need some time. That said, for the randomness mock draft to end this way, he'll be long gone by here, but I want Jackson Slater out of Sacramento. Give yourself 2 interior guys if you're the San Francisco 49ers. And it's funny enough, the grades are probably going to be A+, 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 then like a C. I'm very shocked here. We are in the top 9% of drafts in this most random mock draft using PFF, but I think Jackson Slater, round 4, maybe you get lucky in round 5, makes a lot of sense for the San Francisco 49ers. He had his draft stock shoot up and raise exponentially after the Senior Bowl. He was taking on dudes left and right. He was holding up. He is a good anchor. He can move. And if you can't get Marcus Bowe, Jackson Slater is kind of the next best thing. He can play guard. He can play center. And if you get Marcus Bowe and Jackson Slater, you get guard, tackle, and center versatility. You can move those guys around, and it kind of makes everything a little easier. You probably cut Nick Zakel. You'd feel more comfortable, not to say with Jake Brendel, but you'd have the heir apparent in the room with you next to him. So I wouldn't mind that for San Francisco. But again, in a random mock draft like this, let's take a look at the first round because it was kind of crazy, right? Travis Hunter goes number 1. Abdul Carter goes number 2. Tedero McMillan goes number 3 to the Giants. Mason Graham goes number 4 to the Patriots. Will Campbell goes 5 to the Jaguars. Cam Ward falls to the Raiders. Nothing really stands out too much. Xavier Watts goes 16 to the Cardinals. He's a day 2 sure pick. Cam Scatabo goes 19 to the Buccaneers. James Pierce Jr. goes 21 to the Steelers. Nothing too crazy, I think. There are some surprises I think could go. Walter Nolan falls all the way to 32 and goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. That is nightmare fuel for anybody playing that team, which if San Francisco wants to get back to competing, that's a dominant defensive line that just got stronger with Walter Nolan. Jahad Campbell goes to Washington, the heir apparent to Bobby Wagner out there. Funny enough, we had, how many running backs go? We had Genty go, we had Cam Scatabo go, and we had Travion Henderson go. I'll tell you this now. Take Cam Scatabo out of here and you put in Amarian Hampton. There's a lot of talk about 3 running backs going on day 1. And even right here, this first round we have here, these first kind of 5 picks, Hunter, Carter, McMillan, Graham, Campbell, I would not be shocked, and we'll talk first round picks next week, but if Cam Ward goes 1 and Hunter goes 2, this Giants pick becomes really interesting because I think the Giants are more prone to go Mason Graham than Abdul Carter, but if they go Abdul Carter, do they trade Kayvon Thibodeau? And does it open up a door for a team like San Francisco, the Texans, the Commanders, and others to want to trade for Kayvon Thibodeau from the Giants? But I think they go Mason Graham. I think Abdul Carter falls all the way to number 4 to the Patriots. They get what they want. And that leaves you Will Campbell, Will Johnson, McMillan, Mimbo. I don't think Barron's a top 10 pick. I don't think Will Johnson's a top 10 pick. Josh Connolly's not either. You got good players that fell in this random mock draft we did today. But for the Niners, to recap one more time, round 1, pick 11, Ashton Genty. Round 2, pick 43, Mike Green. Round 3, pick 75, Omar Norman Lott. Round 3, pick 100, Darian Porter out of Iowa State, the cornerback, which Kyle Chipto did not like, but we'll see what happens on Thursday's draft. Olufemi Oladejo went round 4. There are some players on here we've talked about plenty of times. Mike Green, Norman Lott, CJ West, Oladejo from UCLA, but we haven't really talked about Jalen Noel, Jackson Slater, Marcus Bowe, Chris Paul, and Ashton Genty, but Genty really doesn't need any introduction, which is funny because that's the one pick that didn't get an A+ on this was Ashton Genty, who is a bona fide, probably top 6 player in this year's draft with needs and whatnot. So pretty funny to watch PFF grade that as the second poorest pick on our mock. Then Jackson Slater goes in round 7. If the Niners get any of these players at any of these places, Mike Green, Norman Lott, Oladejo, CJ West, Chris Paul Jr., Bowe, Noel, Caldwell Slater, it's a great pick. It's a great pick. Now, that doesn't mean an overdraft, but it's a great pick for San Francisco. I hope you enjoyed this random NFL mock draft we did. Having fun. 1 week away from the 2025 NFL draft. I cannot wait. Stay tuned. We have a ton of content coming your way. Next week on Monday, going to be the final 49ers 7-round predictive mock draft using PFF. Then as we get closer to Thursday, day 1 of the NFL draft, we are going to give you a predictive what I think will happen in round number 1 leading up to pick number 11 and beyond for the San Francisco 49ers. So stay tuned for both those things. We're also going to discuss your NFL draft hot takes, so you can comment those down below. Got a ton of responses on Instagram and on Twitter. A lot of you had a lot to say. Going to react to that in the next few days or so. So stay tuned. 3 podcasts, 3 videos coming your way at least leading up to day 1 of the 2025 NFL draft. And to give you even better news, on day 1 of the 2025 NFL draft, and maybe even on day 2, I will be live on 95.7 The Game on the airwaves out there in San Francisco, and live on YouTube on the 957 The Game YouTube page, reacting to and discussing day 1 and hopefully day 2 of the NFL draft, live on the air, hopefully with plenty out there, Calachipto, Tommy Huxley, Papa J, and many more. So tune in here and tune in there at 957 The Game on YouTube or on the Odyssey app to catch me live reacting to this year's NFL draft. That said, hope you enjoyed the show. Hope you like, share, subscribe, leave that review. Who would you have taken in this random NFL mock draft? Did you like the picks we took? Did you want some more craziness? Did you want some more out-of-the-box thinking? Tell me down below and tell me which player you need the San Francisco 49ers to take in round 1 or day 2 of this year's draft. Who is your draft crush? I really want to know as we get ready for next Thursday's NFL draft. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave that review. You can use that promo code 49ERSAccess, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. And follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X and 49ers.access is the Instagram. As always, my name is Sterling Bennett, and stay faithful.